There are so many advantages to cutting your own stencils, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I make mine. In this video, we'll be going through the process of cutting your own stencils and why it's worth doing. I also have another video coming pretty soon after this one, where we'll be using the stencils we cut today to make some lovely prints, so stay tuned for that. Let's get started with what you need to cut your own stencils. The first item that you need is an electronic cutter. I have the Brothers ScanNCut CM350. It is an older model, so it does not have all the latest features offered by the newer models, but it has everything you need to cut stencils. If you already own an electronic cutter, then you might want to skip this next part where I discuss all the options available in the market and the pricing. So let's talk costs. Some of the options available are Cricut Joy. It is the most budget friendly and it is around $129. Then we have the Cricut Explorer 4, which is for $249. The Cricut Maker 4, which is for $449. And the Brothers ScanNCut SDX85, which is $300. This is just a selection out of all the options that are available to you. Most of these cutters can go up to a depth of 3 mm in different materials. Cricut Joy is the only one with a bit of limitation, so either you can use a thinner material with it or maybe cut it twice if you want to still use the thicker material. As the name suggests, Brothers ScanNCut is the only machine that can scan as well as cut different materials. You do not really need the scan feature for cutting stencils, but it is very useful for other purposes. Some of the models come with an autoblade depth setting, which means that the machine can automatically detect the thickness of the material and do the settings automatically versus you manually adjusting them. This option is obviously available in the more expensive models. This feature came out mere months after I bought my machine, so sadly I missed it. There are so many other differences between the machines, but for the purpose of cutting stencils, most of them work. Now, let's talk about designing the stencils. These machines work with SVG files, which can be imported into the software used to communicate with the cutter. There are a few options available to you. You can design using a vector program like Adobe Illustrator. You can also design basic stencils within the software that comes with your electronic cutter, though it will not be as advanced as a program like Illustrator. And if you hate the thought of designing yourself, the third option is to buy SVG files to cut with your machine. These are cheaper than store-bought stencils and offer more flexibility in sizing and proportions. Your machine may come with some designs, but do keep in mind these usually only include a personal license, not a commercial one. For a commercial license, it is best to purchase SVG files that specifically include that option to avoid any issues later. If you like the stencils I've made today and would like to purchase these files, let me know in the comments and I'll consider putting them up. And they will obviously come with a commercial license. I have designed mine in Illustrator. If you are using this program, once you have finished designing, go to File, click Save As, select SVG from the drop-down and click on Save. Next, open the software for your electronic cutter, which in my case is Brother Canvas. Drag and drop the SVG file onto the area that shows the mat. You can also open it using Open or Import from the File menu. When saving the file initially, I made a mistake. Instead of using Save As, I used the Export option in Illustrator. That saved the file as an SVG, but when I dragged it into the Canvas program, the proportions were off. The design did not cover the entire 12 by 12 inch area, and it included both the negative and the positive of the design. I had to drag the design out and delete the negative areas. I did not realize that it had resized the image, so I thought I had more space and added a couple more stencils to cut. As you will see later, once I start cutting, that I got a smaller size stencil than I needed. This brings me to the second advantage of cutting your own stencils, and that is being able to resize it to any size you want. This is such a blessing because you might want the stencil to have one size for a 5 by 7 plate and another for an 8 by 10 plate. You might want bigger polka dots or smaller polka dots, and all of that is possible when you're making your own stencils. You are not restricted by the one size that you get when you buy a store-bought stencil. We have designed our stencils. We have saved our file. We have imported it into our software. It's time to do the actual cutting. Your machine comes with a cutting pad. You have to first remove the sheet on the top. The center part is sticky, and this is where you place the material you want to cut. The material you need to use is a MYLAR sheet, around 7 mm in thickness. You can easily get these on Amazon or Temu. They come in different sizes like A4 or 12 by 12. I prefer the 12 by 12 size because that matches the cutting mat and I can utilize the entire space. Let's start up our cutter. It has a digital screen which makes it so much easier to operate. Just power it on, open the front area, place your mat in, and press the load mat button on your screen. The machine is now ready to cut the stencil. Let's go back to our software, click on File, then Export File. Next, we click Transfer FCM file via the internet. Let's get back to the machine and click on Pattern. You can see the file has transferred to the machine. Let's click on the button to retrieve the file, and here we have the pattern that we want to cut. Click on the Cut button and then press the Start Stop button to start. The machine will now begin cutting the design that you have loaded. During the process, you can track how long it will take from start to finish. Since mine is an older model, it takes a lot longer than the newer ones. It is also noisier than the current models. Once it is finished, we unload the mat. Once your design is cut, lift out all the pieces, both the negative and positive parts of the stencil, plus the mask from the mat. I use this little scraper from Cricut to pick up the pieces. If you want the sticky area to last longer, then it's best to not touch it with your bare hands. Also, do not worry, these mats are reusable and you can always spray them with a repositionable adhesive spray to make your mat sticky again. If your stencil has not cut properly from any side, you can always use a scissor to smooth those edges. Once you've lifted up the stencils, use a scraper to remove all the leftover pieces to make sure that your mat is clean for the next cut. Now, what if you don't have the machine and you don't have the budget to get one? You can still get the MYLAR sheets and create basic shapes with scissors. Shapes like a triangle or a square are very easy to cut. You can even try forming a circle. You can fold it and shape it into a donut. It doesn't have to be perfect. Imperfections are what makes gel printing more fun. You can also try drawing on the MYLAR sheet with a pen that will work on it. If you're one of those people who are really good at fussy cutting and also love doing it, then this is something that can work for you. If you're going to be cutting manually, then a better idea is to get a thinner MYLAR sheet or use Tyvek paper. I've not used that personally, but I've seen people use it to cut stencils and it's much easier with a scissor. I also lined up the MYLAR sheet with a self-healing cutting mat and used the hobby knife to cut a rectangle. This did not work out as well as I was hoping, and it took quite a few passes to even make a dent. Wow, that took a while. I sped it up so you did not have to sit through the struggle. Again, a thinner sheet or Tyvek paper would work better. Let's take a look at the stencils that we made. These are from the first batch that we got where the sizing was off. Not to say that we can't use them at this size, but just look at the difference in impact with a larger stencil. I have resized it to completely fill the 5 by 7 plate, and we can make it even bigger if we want for the 8 by 10 plate. Look at how much cooler the circular stencil looks at this scale. But we can still use these smaller ones and scatter them across the plate to get a completely different look. The best part is that the choice is yours when deciding the size of each stencil. Let's take a look at all the other stencils we got today, starting with this triangular one. This ended up smaller than intended. It does not even cover this 5 by 7 plate. I figured that we do not need the border, so this is what I did. I made it bigger and I also removed the border. Because of that, I can easily repeat this stencil on a larger plate without having to resize it. Since I was into triangles, this is another one that I made based on the same theme. And yes, we are still sticking to the triangular theme. this time with the border, but I made sure the border is outside the 5x7 plate. I made one for this size and another for the 8x10 plate. This is a choice you do not have with store-bought stencils. I figured I'll try some different shapes, so I used a hexagon. I made two of them with a slight difference in size. You can use one of the stencils on the plate, or you can put them side by side depending on the design you want to create. Since we're exploring new shapes, why not stars? These were cut in three different sizes, thus giving me so many creative possibilities. I have a similar style stencil design from earlier that has rectangles with rounded edges. This time I decided to go with squared edges. I cut it to fit the 5x7 plate perfectly. Another fun stencil for the 5x7 plate where I made sure the borders are falling outside the plate. At some point, I'm going to cut an 8x10 size for this as well. Polka dots are evergreen and you can never have enough stencils with polka dots. This is definitely one of my favorite ones, and again, I cut two of these. Slightly different in size, and you can put them side by side, or you can just use one depending on how you want your design to look. This is a fun, wonky circular stencil which has so many creative possibilities. Next, I made some irregular shape masks. These kind of shapes are just so much fun to work with. You can use them on their own or mix and match to come up with your own new patterns. While I was at it, I made a few zigzag patterns as well. I've cut them out in four different sizes, and for the last one, I even changed the proportions so it is a little stretched out. So it gave me a different zigzag shape. Last but not the least, I wrote ABC using my trackpad and cut these shapes out. I really need to get an iPad one of these days so I can draw these using a pen versus struggling with a trackpad. I hope you enjoyed this video and it has given you an idea of how and why you should make your own stencils. And if you want to see the prints that we made using these stencils, please stay tuned for the next video. Subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out. See you in the next one.